Hello everyone, this is 3F from Faith, Figures, and Fun. This is a channel that is going to be talking about 1/6 scale mostly, action figures, a little bit of faith, and hopefully have a lot of fun along the way. One of the things that I've noticed about 1/6 figure scale collecting is that it is kind of pricey. Accessories, diorama, things like that can run up the bill a little bit high, and I want to try to create an alternative to that where you take things that are maybe even garbage, but less expensive, and try to make something that looks good for your fun, because I think it's important that everybody has a hobby or something where they can express themselves and kind of explore that creative energy that we all have. I think that things are expensive. We want detailed stuff, and that requires more money, right? The more articulation, the more a piece costs, the more detail, the more a piece costs. And I want to present alternatives to that, because not everybody's balling these days. Not everybody's rolling in dough. And I think that it is criminal to hinder someone's creativity for something as simple and in some cases as irrelevant as money. I don't like that. So I'm here to present an alternative to all of that. That's what this channel is about. I'm not the best at anything, but I hope that we can learn something along the way, me and you guys, and hopefully I can teach you something and you can teach me something, and we can figure out new methods or different ways to take other materials and turn them into something cool, trash to treasure, if you will. I like to shop. I like to look around the shelves of any store I go to, even if it's not something in the scale that I'm looking for. Plenty of things out there in the one-to-one life that could be brought into your action figure life, your world building, if you will. I don't know how to craft all that well. I'm not a master. I only recently got into this myself, but I've learned a couple of things, some materials that I like to use as well that I think I should make a video on, that are not expensive. These are not primo paints, the top of the line, but they get the job done. And these are not tools that you need to use for so long and X amount of time before you truly master it. It's just little things that make your life easier, little things that maybe you didn't think about that you can use. And who knows, like I said, this might be a video that you watch. I might put out a video that you watch and have you realize, like, hey, why didn't I think of that? Because there's been plenty of times where I've been just scrolling YouTube and I click on somebody's video and they do something that I was like, you can do that? Why didn't I consider that? So hopefully that's something that you could take away from this as well. I don't know much of anything, really. I'm just a guy. I am also stepping into YouTube as a person, as just somebody who's been enjoying YouTube. I'm a lurker here, I follow plenty of creators and I check out other stuff, but I don't know anything about video editing. I don't know anything about uploading. I don't know anything about YouTube. I'm just here taking a step because it feels like it's something I should do. It doesn't feel like this is something I should avoid, but it's unfamiliar territory, and that is kind of exciting to me because, again, it's something I've never done, and I think that the time is right, and I have people encouraging me to do something. And if I can inspire somebody, if I can help somebody do a cool project and have them put it out there, I think that's great, because, again, expressing your creativity is something that everybody should do, because it could inspire somebody, or just for the sake of themselves, put something out there. You might have the next Star Wars in your hand. You might have the original trilogies. The first two trilogies. You might have the next Terminator in your hands. You might have something gold that you might not know of because you can't get it out, because you don't know how to, or you just don't have the encouragement from people around you. I don't know. Maybe you're too shy, like I was for a long time. I didn't really like sharing my ideas with people or my projects because I thought I was gonna get made fun of and stuff. I'm a grown man playing with 1/6 scale action figures, or messing with them and dressing them up and coming up with stories and ideas for them. Until my wife, so I got married recently. So there's hope. If you're also an action figure nerd who's single and you think that you don't have a chance, let me tell you, there's hope for all of us, my brothers and sisters. I talked to her about all this stuff, and she encouraged me to put myself out there a little bit. She said, "Why don't you write these things down? Why don't you show them off? This is so cool. This is so creative." But she says that because she loves me, and this is my way of testing that theory. And if she's encouraging me, I'm here to encourage you if you've never had that in your life. I don't know much about all this stuff, so maybe you guys can help me out too. I'm kind of hoping to make a community of 1/6 stuff. I'm just a guy who wants to share his creations and see other people's creations, and I'm starting at zero. So maybe you can learn from me, and I can learn from you, and we can go from there. That sounds like a Barney song almost, huh? But it is my sentiment. It is what I hope to achieve, because I think creativity is something that's coming up kind of rare these days. You see movies and it seems to be remake after remake or the same plot every single time. Music doesn't sound the same to me, and maybe it's just because I'm getting older. Maybe it's these darn kids are the ones who are out of touch, not me, like that meme says. But I think people want something new and genuine, not just another same product with a different paint scheme. And I think that that's up to us as individuals to make that happen, not only for the people out there, but for us as well, for our own selves. So one thing that I like to do, and something that I'm gonna try to do here, is take toys and things and turn them into something else. I already have one finished project that I'll be showing off to you guys later, and just as a way of showing creativity, as a way of seeing something and seeing the potential behind it. Hopefully train your guys' eye to see a box of trash as a treasure trove of materials and items and things that you can use. So I'm also gonna try to keep this on a less tools as possible kind of thing. I know everybody doesn't have a Dremel. Not everybody has an airbrush with an air compressor or a paint booth and all of those things. So I'm gonna take my little brush and I'm gonna take my scissors, and I think the most advanced tool I'm gonna try to use is like a drill. And I'm gonna try to do it in a small space, an indoor space, because I know that there are people who live in apartments, or they have roommates, or they don't have access to a garage, or they don't have access to a backyard where they can just spray like crazy, or they don't have access to these tools, or just a place where they can make a big old mess. And I myself don't like generating a lot of dust because I'm paranoid about breathing stuff in. So I'm gonna try to do it like that. Again, trying to do it on a budget and try to still make a decent product. I really like articulation. I don't mean to hate on anybody whatsoever, but I'm just not a fan of statues, and I don't like seeing joints in figures unless they're meant to be like a cyborg or something like that. So I don't like statues because they are fantastic pieces of art. Obviously the detail and the skill is seen by even someone as ignorant as me. But that's all it is, a statue. If you were to describe something as lifeless, that would be one of the words that comes to mind. And again, I'm not saying that the sculpting and the detail and all of that is there. It's just, to me, it's something that doesn't move. Even something as great as Michelangelo's David, that's a masterpiece. And you can definitely see the skill there and all of the hard work that went into it and just how beautiful that thing looks. But it's just a statue. And in my mind, that doesn't move. You can't bring any life into it that isn't already there. I think that's the way I want to phrase it. You can't bring any life into it that more than is already there. So as cool as that pose is, as cool as the detail and all of that stuff is, that's all it can be. Unless maybe you change the lighting a little bit and stuff. And again, if you collect statues and all that stuff, I'm not in any way trying to be negative on your hobby. I've seen a lot of statues that I wish were action figures, and I wish the action figures looked as good as the statues sometimes. But to me, in my mind, maybe because I'm not that creative, I just can't bring more life to it. So that's something I set out to do. So a lot of my creations are movable. They have joints, and that's an extra challenge to me to find a way to make these things articulated, because if it's not alive, then why make it? And that's something I got from an artist sculptor from a TV show. I wish I remembered his name. But if it's not alive, why make it? I couldn't have figured out a way to phrase that better until I heard that guy say that. So I'm gonna try to talk to you guys because I like long videos. I use it as background noise. I don't know why. It's just something that I do. Maybe you guys could give me some insight into that, because I don't know. I don't think I'm lonely. Like I said, I just got married. My wife is here. My family's with me. So I don't know why I like to just hear somebody talk about whatever. Maybe you guys could give me some insight as to why that is. Maybe you guys do the same. I think newer generations are doing that, and maybe you guys have heard or read an article or saw a video where this was discussed. I also want to leave you guys with another question. Why do we do this? Do you guys know why you do this? If you have a reason for why you collect action figures, or you set up your dioramas, or even as an adult, if you play with them, whatever, excuse me, because I don't know why I do this. I don't know why my skills transferred into want to be developed in this. I want to develop skills in creating toys, which sounds ridiculous because they're at the end of the day, they're useless. You can't eat them, you can't wear them, you can't build a house out of them, you can't do much of them. Do much with them. So maybe you guys could give me some insight as to why you collect or modify or build your own things, because I don't know why. Why didn't this creative drive go into making an airplane, or maybe even building furniture or clothes or something of use? Maybe you guys could give me some insight as to that. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but I think we have been made with a spark of creativity inside us by God himself. To me, Jesus Christ is God, Jesus Christ is King, and I think he made us all in his image. And he was the first creator. So why wouldn't we be creative? And everything was made by him. Everything we see, nature, the birds, the plants. But I also believe that everything else was inspired by him, such as homes, cars, airplanes, because again, he was the first creator. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit as well, because that's a very important element in my life. And I'm going to discuss it in a thoughtful way, or at least what I consider to be thoughtful, because it's something I've been thinking a lot about lately as I'm taking my faith more seriously. So I think it's important to try to find ways around financial blocks, because the spark of creativity that was put into us by the Creator himself is something that should be explored. So faith is important to me, and it will come up. And this is also kind of a selfish thing for me to do, because I'm also just trying to cement my faith. So I'm gonna come up with questions and things that I've been thinking about lately and present them here. This is a journey for me, and this is a journey into making videos. This is a journey into making toys and putting my creativity out there. This is a journey into my faith and the things that I think about that have been on my mind. And I would like for you guys to come along with me and explore this with me. And if you're just a guy, you're just a girl, maybe you can relate. If you're having these thoughts, if you have these ideas of creativity, even if your medium is something else, you like creating music, you like creating art, images, or Photoshop pictures, whatever, this is for creative people out there to help me figure out why we are creative, why we do this. And hopefully you guys can think about those things too with me, and we can learn from each other. We can appreciate each other's skills. And that's what I'd like to cultivate with this video. This is one of those examples that I was talking about. This is a toy from the dollar store that I think was $1.25. I want to make this either into some sort of hover bike or into some sort of crawling vehicle. And this is one of the projects that I've had in mind. Again, I already pulled off some of it. I already started. I pulled off the seat because the figure didn't fit there. And I pulled off this because, who's going to drive like that, But this was made for a Barbie doll. And I want to take it and make it into something else. Again, $1.25 for some good quality plastic that's easy to snap off. I think that's a deal, and we'll see where our imagination takes us. We'll see what we can do with this, and I hope you guys join me in the next one. If you want to do all that YouTube stuff, go ahead, like, subscribe, whatever. Or you could just leave me on your playlist, check into the channel every now and again, see how we're doing, see how I'm doing, see what else I got going on. But thank you for your time, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.